our inaugural pilot, proof of concept, whatever phrase you want to use, attempt at establishing an artist-in-residence program in Mason libraries. So first, thank you to the libraries, to John Walsh, to John Nellis, to Jen Stevens, to my supervisors for helping us to let this happen, and also to the School of Art who supported us in bringing Adriana in doing the Home and the Other catalog that we produced, which is available on the table over here, and the University Life Programming Fund who also supported this residency. So in establishing this residency, we really wanted to find a way to bring an artist into the library space, which we already do with the gallery. So we bring in students and faculty and sometimes community artists or those outside of the university. But this would really give a way for an artist to plumb like the depths of what does it mean to do research in the space in service of a larger project. And so it really worked out well. Everything was sort of magical with the timing with Adriana. We were introduced to her through Christopher Carden-Begas, professor of printmaking at the School of Art. And timing worked out well. We wanted to do an exhibition of Adriana's work. And she was interested in doing something a little more. And we had this great opportunity to really give this a shot. So to bring an artist in, let them explore what we have in the collections, let them think about what it means to do, to explore this idea of doing research for a project, and to make that visible for students. So as part of this residency, there were 3 or 4 lectures that she gave to a photo book class, talking about her process, both the work of making a photo book. There was a workshop that we conducted, which was open to any student at Mason, including and faculty. And then finally, the exhibition itself, which she'll talk more about, and she'll talk more about these specifics. But again, for me, as the art librarian, I was really interested in this, because a lot of times this idea of research, there's a very specific way people think about it, which means you make a poster, you make a book, an academic monograph. But the work that happens in the studio and in conversations and in the gallery is just as much a part of that research process. And so this is a way for us to make that visible. And so we are so delighted to be able to do this, to give this first run with Adriana Monsalve. So a little bit about Adriana. Oh, sorry, I anticipated that. Adriana Monsalve is an artist and collaborative publisher working in the photo book medium. Together with Caterina Rod, they run Homey House Press from Beltsville, Maryland, and Lambrate, Milano, Italy. Homey House Press is a radical cooperative platform where they challenge the ever-changing forms of storytelling with image and text. Monsalve earned a master's in photojournalism from the University of Westminster in London in 2013. In 2018, she was awarded the Lucy Independent Photo Book Prize for her collaborative photo book, Femme Frontera, a project which was funded by the National Association of Latino Arts and Cultures and was part of the Master Artist Grant for 2017. The works of Homey House Press, including Monsalve's works, have been collected in the Library of Congress's Thomas J. Watson Library, the National Museum of Women in the Arts, Maryland Institute College of Art, and other private collections. At Mason, you can find Monsalve's photo books and Homey House Press publications in the Mason Library's Artist Book Collection. So we have collected everything that was available from the Homey House Press canon, which is currently in processing to live in special collections in Mason libraries. You can find out more about her work on her website, Adriana Stories, which is linked from the Fenwick Gallery website. And now I will turn it over to Adriana.
Yeah, we can leave it there. It's fine. Hi. So I'm Adriana Monsalve, and I'm really happy to be here with you guys, and I'm so thankful that I got to be part of the pilot program for the artists in residencies here at George Mason. It's been like a whirlwind and everything, like a lot of challenges, a lot of stuff really fast, but I've learned so much. And really, like, the greatest thing about this whole residency has been that we really get to focus on the research. And as artists, as creatives, a lot of times you see the end product and you see these things and you're like, whoa, I wonder how much, I don't know, people I feel like a lot of times don't realize how much goes into things. And also I don't even realize because I am like in the process of doing it and it's like, okay, that's done, next thing. Okay, I learned that next thing, so now let's make it and let's finish it. But within this residency, I was able to really even though, I feel like I was really able to slow down and understand wow, I really do a lot of things to get to where to get to like a finished product. And I feel like, I mean, I know that, yeah, like I do hustle a lot and I do a lot, but like, I don't know, it was really cool to like really see like all the different levels of it and to realize that all those levels are art as well, like the research part, the reading part, like all these different things, and the asking question part to people that that I don't know, and all these different things, like they really come together in this way that like completely is like fundamental and foundation of my practice in a lot of ways. Because Homie House and me, like we are really like challenging the ways photojournalism is used and the ways storytelling is used and the ways that text and image can be used. We're not doing like photojournalism in the way that it's like reportage, that it's like documentary photography. Like it's a lot more about placing like the camera in a different way, that it's not about the other, that it's a lot more about the self. And yeah, things are still done in a very documentary way. So it is still photojournalism, but it's really challenging the ways that we view that and the ways we take that in. So with this residency, we specifically decided to do like experimentation and analyze the first photo book project that I ever did, which was Clear as Black. And Clear as Black is a project that started in 2013, and actually in doing this research, I realized it actually started before that. It started with like the idea, which all started in 2010. And so it's been like a 9-year process so far. And 2013 was when I graduated with my master's, so this was my thesis project, but it's something that I've continued to expand on and go back to, and it's been my passport to everything else that I've done, because it was the first way that I understood like how to relate to photography for myself and how I need to use it for different things. Yeah, we can go to the next one. Thank you. So yeah, so basically what this residency, what the exhibition is going to be talking about Diaspora Diction. We're not calling it Clear as Black because it's an expansion of it, and it's the examination and experimentation that was done. So it's a lot more than just Clear as Black. And Clear as Black, I don't know if this project will even continue to be called Clear as Black as it grows and as it changes in so many different ways. So yeah, this was a way for me to explore all kinds of different things. Clear as Black, basically where it comes from and where it started, it came from a very personal place. Like I started the project because of the simple fact that my entire life, like people have always told me, what are you? And I feel like people don't necessarily realize the questions that they're asking, but like what they mean is like, what's your ethnic background? What's your ancestry type of thing? And it's my entire life, I've always, whenever I give an answer, oh, I'm Colombiana, oh, I'm Latinx, like these answers never suffice people. Like people always tell me, oh, you don't look Colombian, you can't be Latinx, you don't look brown enough, or like different things like this that are like really problematic. But because a lot of people don't know enough about Latinx identity and things, like we accept it and we're just supposed to like move through that. Like, and we do, like Latinx community, I feel like we move through it with grace, like so much, and we take it. But I think there came a point for me where I was just like, I hate doing that. Like I hate having to tell people that I'm this and people saying, no, you're not. Like it's something that's since I was little, always. And because of that, when I went to school in London, I decided that I wanted to make a project that would like answer that question once and for all, like in a very in-depth and long way. And because in London there is less of like Latinx immigrants to Europe, like it's that much more that I was seen as like people had no idea what to do with me, even when I said like I'm Colombian or Latinx, because they don't really have this immigrant nation there, like in Europe as much as in like the Americas. So it became like so much more and more for me something that I had to do. And the whole point was that I wanted to make a space where I could broaden the ideas of what Latinx and like the whole Latinidad community, what it looks like and how like we can like claim space for ourselves. That's where it started. And in doing research and stuff and finding all these different things and different ways that photographers were talking about race and different ways that photographers were like using photography to investigate race, I found some parallels with a very interesting group of people in Puerto Rico. In Puerto Rico, it's the capital of the world for people with albinism. And a lot of people don't realize that. And So in this capital of the world for albinism, there are so many different ways that albinism can look, and it's a lot more than just skin deep. Like a lot of people think of albinism and they think about just like no pigmentation, or like very typical albinism, which would be right here, right? That's like what people think of, yeah? Are y'all with me? What's up? Yeah? Okay. So, when I was doing this research, I was finding that like albinism can attack like different parts of the body, and it can like represent in totally different ways. So this homie right here, Ricardito, next to these girls, he has albinism as well. Like both of these people have albinism. This lady too, this family, all of these boys. So it looks completely different, and albinism can be black, white, brown, and all these things. It just attacks different parts of the bodies. And the typical way is what we always see in mainstream media, what we've been shown over and over. But it's a lot bigger than that, a lot broader than that. So when I found that, I was like, whoa, like that's a really interesting way to talk about race, and a really interesting way to like make parallels between like Latinx community and like albinism. And these are things that have been completely misrepresented and underrepresented to what I feel is like my whole life. Because I definitely thought albinism was one thing. I didn't know that it attacks, like, if it's not in the skin, like, it attacks different parts of your body, like your lungs or different other things. And that it can look a million different ways, just like Latinx people, just like the Latinx community. I think we can go to the next one. Yeah, I think I'm going faster than the slides. Yeah, okay. So yeah, right, so that's what I was just saying. That's parallel to racial identity. And in a lot of ways, when I talk about Clear as Black, I talk about it in a way that it was really a way for me to try to like dismantle race in so many different ways for me, because I feel like Latinidad and like Latinx people are not, like, we're not a race. Like, we're an amalgamation of so many different identities that come together, because the slave, the colonizer, and the indigenous, like, they all live here, like, in this body, and they have to make peace every single day in this body. And so it was very much like an idea of that, like, race in so many different ways was coming at me like an illusion, like it's not a real thing. Because if we're looking at Clear as Black, and we're looking at these people with albinism, go back one. If we're looking at these two brothers, this is the cover for Clear as Black. So if we're looking at these two brothers, they're both Puerto Rican, they both have albinism, and like, what does that say about race? Like, and what does that say about albinism? Like, completely, like, dismantles all of that. So, that's where Clear as Black started. And yeah, so this is just a little bit more background of it. You guys can read that for yourselves. Or do you want me to read it? Huh?
Pull up the page.
Oh yeah, pull up the page, go ahead.
Oh, for some reason this is not what's displaying.
Oh no.
Hold on, I think we can do this. We got this, we're just swapping screens.
Oh no. What's happening? Okay, that's okay. So Stephanie's gonna roll through like a bit of the work from Clear as Black. A lot of this is included in the exhibition downstairs, and y'all can spend a lot more time with it down there. So this is just an overview of the different people that I was in contact with for the first time when I went, that I spent like 2 months on the island and like living with different people that belong to this community. And the book is here, and it includes like interviews and different things that are coming to the surface with like paralleling albinism and racial identity and other things. And the work was done like in a very, I think it was really important for me to shoot the work and to make the work in a very like personal way, in the sense that these weren't medical studies for me. Like, they are people first, people with albinism, and that's why I don't use the word like albinos, like it's actually a derogatory term. A lot of people don't realize. And so I made the word like people with albinism myself. And like, I just kind of started using it, and people were always like, what is that? And I was like, it's when people say albinos, it's actually like, makes more sense to say people with albinism. So it was really trying to like take away these whole ideas of mainstream and looking at things like not as medical subjects and not looking at people as like, as a condition or as a disease. And really just seeing like their life and seeing like what daily life is and the different parts of their life how that intersects. So yeah, now you guys understand basically what Clear as Black is about, right? Does everyone feel me? Do you have any questions about what Clear as Black is? Do you get it? Yeah? Okay, then we can get to the funner stuff. Okay. So yeah, so Stuart Hall is amazing, and he did this quote that he says, identities are formed at the unstable point where personal lives meet the narrative of history. Identity is an ever unfinished conversation. His books are in the research library that's there in the exhibition. You can read more about him. He's amazing. And yeah, no, definitely, this is at the center of Clear as Black, because identity and the ways we identify and the ways we make that like can look so many different ways and can continue to be so many different things. And for me, I feel like, yes, Clear as Black initially, I guess, started in 2010 with like this idea of when I first heard about like these different ways that albinism happens in Puerto Rico, but then I didn't actually get to start it until 2013, and also it comes back to the point of like, I found in 2010, my grandpa died, and through that I found that like, because I've always had to answer like these questions of who I am and what I look like and all these things, I found through his death like there was all kinds of secrets that my grandma like revealed to me after he passed, and she was telling me like, Adriana, your grandpa, like his grandpa was 100% like African. Like, we are very Black, as I should have known, because like Colombia is the third largest like African diaspora within in the world. So it was always something that I was like when people say like you're Latinx, like it's not, that doesn't answer anything. Like that's not a thing. Like it's a name we gave ourselves as a people, but it doesn't mean anything. So it's kind of in that space as well. That's like where, yeah. So yeah, with Clear as Black, it's something that I've had the opportunity and the privilege to go back to the island and spend more time with different people in the project. And it's been really interesting, because when you're going to shoot something like this and you're going to like work on more of these in-depth stories, like you think you're going with your camera and you're gonna interview and you're gonna like hang out for like a month and you have like these plans of what you're gonna do. But a lot of times when you get to these places, different things happen. And I feel like Clear as Black has taught me a lot of that. As I said, it was like the first project that I did in this way. So it's taught me a lot about trusting the process. So because this is very research-based residency, I'm gonna talk a little bit about like the ways that like these stories evolve and the ways that these stories change, and about the ways that like it's a push and pull, and the ways that I struggle or give into that. So yeah. The second time that you go back, no, go back, yeah, I'm still there, yeah. So the second time that I went back to the island to photograph more Clear as Black and to do more like, just to make more work around it, the moment that when I landed, the family that I was staying with, they told me that the patriarch of the family, like the grandpa in their where I was staying in their family, had died. And I was like, whoa, like what? Like they are the connection to a lot of how I go around the island and photograph these different people with albinism, and we just do it all together. And one of their kids is like also in the project, like he's someone with albinism as well. So I was like, okay, like what does this mean? Like I'm gonna be there for like a month or 3 weeks or something, and like someone just died. This is gonna like really, I don't know what's needed of me in this time. And I didn't know if they even wanted me in that space. I didn't know like what was expected of me. And they told me, they were like, Adriana, we see you as family since you spent so much time like with us. Like I had already lived there 2 months, but like a year before I had stayed there for 2 months. And like, so they were like, we already see you in this way. So we want you to just be here and document what's happening here. And I was like, oh, so I'm gonna like document the whole like grieving process. And I was like, okay, that's not what I was thinking, but let's roll with it. Like that's what they need, right? And yeah, I'm happy to do that and to like fill that space. So so that's where novena comes from, which there's, in one of the cases downstairs, you'll see there's like a whole other story within Clear as Black that I have no idea what to do with, because it's a really beautiful story that I shot within like the second time that I went, that it was fully just like documenting like this family that, yeah, I guess they have members in their family that have albinism, but it's not about that, and it's not about Latinidad at all. It's about grief and like how Latinx families grieve and these different things. Yeah, but I completely trusted that process and I gave into it fully. And I was very like willing to just like, also like to just see like what that meant, because also as like Latinx Catholic families, like I didn't grow up like that. Like I grew up in the States and I grew up very like Adventist. So like that was completely not like, Catholicism was completely not a part of like my life. So I think also for these reasons, it was something that was super like, I was very interested and very like, what is this like very social studies for me in a lot of ways. And I didn't know like why I was shooting it. Like I didn't know why I was so committed to it, and I didn't know like what it would become later. But in doing this research like with Stephanie, like she really wanted to see it, and I was like, no one's ever seen this. Like I'm so like shy to show this. Like it's not even Clear as Black. Like what in the world? And like, but I showed it to her, and she was like, this is really like amazing, and the stuff that is happening here, and the connections to different things that's happening here. Like we need to like show this work and talk about this work. So yeah, it's on display for the first time in public, for the public to see. And so yeah, no, and I really don't know like exactly where it's gonna lead and what's gonna happen when we do like more editions of Clear as Black. Is it gonna be included, or is it gonna be its own thing? Because as well, like there's so many, it's true, like these things are all connected. Like with Homey House Press, my publishing house that I run with my partner, Caterina, we did a series this year, in 2019, we did the first series that we were collaborating with male identifying bodies, because we are a femme-based space, and we usually just publish like femme-based photographers that are talking like about personal, political, and poetic things. And since we opened up the space to like, for the first time, to male identifying bodies, we called it Baby Boys, the series, and there's 2 of the series here today. And so for next year, like we've been talking about it a lot, and we're like, it's been cool giving like space to like boys, but we kind of want to take the space back. and so we want to do like a really special series, Dead Baby Boys, where like all the femmes that we're gonna work with are gonna be talking about dead male identifying bodies in their life. So that's another way for me. So and I didn't even think about it honestly when like I proposed this whole Dead Baby Boys thing like a couple months ago to Kate. She was like, this is amazing, let's do it. But I didn't think about at all novena or my grandpa or anything. Like ever since I've been talking about Stephanie, I'm like, oh my God, this fits so good with what we want to release for 2020. Like that's so on point. So yeah, I have no idea. It might not be Clear as Black at all. It might just be something I shot with Clear as Black, but I'm going to include for the Dead Baby Boys series. Yeah, so again, this is all like lessons in trusting the process, all lessons in like how art gets so messy and confusing, and really, yeah, no, it's such a mess. But there is like, at the end of all the chaos, it really does make sense, and things are like coming together. And no, totally, the process is never ending. Yeah, Clear as Black started 2010, and I'm still doing it, so yeah. Okay, so so I'm gonna talk about the most, exciting research that I did while I was here in this residency. Sorry, I'm gonna drink some water for a second. So I was researching and looking at other identities and other combinations of identities, and that kind of like struggle with the idea of like belonging to something, just like Latinx people like struggle with like, oh, I'm Black, I'm white, I'm all the things. So, and in doing that, I found Melungeons. Does anyone know about the Melungeon community? Okay, I'm gonna tell you. Okay, so the Melungeon community is in Appalachia. And it's a small part of Appalachia. It's Tennessee, Kentucky, Virginia, specifically the Cumberland Gap. That's the area that it's called that overlaps like all these 3 different states. And yeah, so they say that their makeup is Mediterranean, Middle Eastern, North African, Sub-Saharan, Native American. So that's very like, I'm like, whoa, that's very like Latinx things where you can't, if people say what you are, no one's gonna be happy with what you say. Like they must struggle with the same thing. And in continuing doing the research, I was like, whoa, like they've had it like this for a really long time, because this community has been here like since like people moved to the Americas. And so because of this, it's been like a super highly controversial subject, and Melungeons themselves, even today, like they are constantly policing who can be Melungeon and who can't, and is this word even fair to be called like Melungeon, and also the origins of Melungeon are like so many. Like people say it has French origins, people say it has like North African origins, and people all say it means different things. Like the French, I think the French one has like words like relating to mixture, and I don't remember what, I think one had like, I don't remember, like the Mediterranean one had something related to like to evil or something. So because of its, so in my research I was reading that like because of its connection to blackness, like it's been looked at as a bad thing, and people don't necessarily, like they kind of stray away from being Melungeon or being called Melungeon, and because of the way that, yeah, the Latinx people and Melungeon people can look, like if I wanted to say I have no connection to blackness, people are not gonna contest me on that, obviously. Like, I mean, that's part of this like in-between space that I take up and that Homie House takes up too. Like, I have a seat at every table. Like, there's so much privilege and power in this like very complicated identity. So, no, and I'm very aware of it, and I love it. I mean, it is like a curse also, but it's also like I love it because it's very, I can use that to do things like this, to really understand like the ways that, how like communities are made and how like that happens. So in doing this, I realized that, yeah, their identity is still completely contested. Like everyone is still fighting about who is what and what exactly is Melungeon, and does it include like Sub-Saharan and North African, which it definitely does, and all these different things. But the Melungeon people that have committed to this word Melungeon are super proud of 2 things. They're super proud of, you can go back. They're super proud of Elvis, because he's Melungeon. Because his mom was Melungeon. And so they claim him, like that's their baby boy, like he's Melungeon. And the other thing they're proud of is Lincoln. They say he's Melungeon too. And I didn't go down that rabbit hole as much because I was much more interested in this rabbit hole. But so there is work included about Elvis in the show. And no, yeah, I have no idea. Like I haven't, again, this research is still the beginning, so I'm still in the process of it. So I haven't read anything about Elvis using the word Melungeon or even like talking about his blackness. But no, Elvis is black. Like Elvis is black, totally. So, so a lot of this, kind of, when I found all this out, I was like really excited, and I wanted to like share it with Stephanie, and like we kind of made a space where we were like, okay, let's include it in the exhibition somehow, but let's include it like in a very like psychedelic, like dreamy, like not real way, because it's true. It's research that I don't have a million facts for. I know it's true, but I don't have like, no, he hasn't said it or whatever. And because the Melungeon community is very like, they're against like DNA tests and stuff. So nobody like, I don't know. I feel like it gets a lot more complicated than it needs to be. But anyways, I respect. Okay, so. So what we did was we did some rizographs with this homie right here, and this homie right here, and these 2 homies right here. Emily, Jen, Mad, and Chris, and Stephanie. And we did some rizos of my number 1 baby boy, which is my grandpa, and my new baby boy, which is Elvis. And we chose, like, I found this picture actually randomly a week ago, like right before we started the Rizo, and I was like, oh my God, this picture is so good. This tie is so Rizo, like it's gonna look so good. And then when I was looking for like a picture of Elvis, I was like they almost look alike. I was like, they're so cute, like they almost look alike. So I chose that one very specifically because I wanted like this very baby boy smile. Yeah. So that's where, that's like the biggest revelation that I did here at George Mason and with Stephanie. And that's that's led a lot of what I feel like, oh, perfect, that's what I was gonna say. That's led a lot of what is like, well, what's next for Clear as Black? Like, where do we go with this now? Where do we go with this information? How do we, like, what does this mean? So, I think in researching Melungeon identity and really just thinking more about the ways that communities are formed, I've struggled lately just trying to understand then how did Latinx people become Latinx? If we're so many different things, how do we become this thing? And if Melungeons can't even they're not they're so policing of who can say the word and who can, when it's there's so many different things, it's impossible for them to even be able to it's really psychedelic in my head. I don't understand it. I still don't understand it at all. And it's just really making me question a lot of how do we even make community? Because it's not Latinx community and Melungeon community. It's not by race. It's definitely not by race, because all of that is thrown in the air, and people it's not if it's not by race, and it's not by language per se. It's not by skin color. It's not by accent. How do these things happen? How do these things come together? And why do they happen? And who gets to police who is in and out of this? And also, why do I need it? And I know why I need it. I definitely know why I need it, because of the fact that that I never fit anywhere. That I'm always told no, you're not this enough, you're not that enough. All these things my entire life. So when I do get a seat at the table, it's it's really cool for me. But once I understood that, and I really understood the power in this body, it really made space for me to be no, really, even when people tell me that I don't know, I am. People just don't understand what Latinx is. I literally am everything. So, so what's next for it is, now that I've done a lot of research around Appalachia and around Melungeon identity, what's next is I need to go to Appalachia and I need to shoot. I need to document and begin to do this story and interview and make a connection there where I can start to really photograph this. And to do that, I need funding, I need to win a grant or who knows what. But yeah, we'll see. That's what's next for it. I don't know. And I guess I need to go down the Lincoln rabbit hole too. I'm not as excited about that one, but I will. And what else? And that's it. Yeah, thank you. And shout out to the crew. Yeah. Any questions? Anything anyone didn't understand? Did I go over something too fast? Anything else you want to ask me completely that has nothing to do with Clear as Black?
I have two.
Okay.
I'm gonna wait for the mic because this mic is really for the camera and not for the benefit of the room. Okay, two things I noticed. The first thing is in your first slide, you had a picture of actually three young women, and they were both hiding their faces. What's behind that?
Oh, the two girls.
This one?
Yeah, those two, and then the other young lady on the left.
Wait, what?
Top left, I'm sorry.
Oh, I didn't even make that connection. They're little girls and they were having a bad day, so they were crying. So when I was hanging out with, literally the entire day, they were like that. They were covering their face the entire day. And this was, this is Valeria. I actually hung out with her for many different days. I just love this image. I think it's really beautiful. And so that's why I picked that one, but I didn't make this connection, definitely.
Yeah, that one is in the show too, so you can see it a little
Yeah.
later.
Well, I mean, definitely, always. I think that's something that always is happening. But they were also crying so much. So they were just little girls in a bad mood all day. So I was just working with what was around me. Yeah.
So I really like your work so far and how you kind of deconstruct the idea of race and how there's multiple different identities within yourself. And it got me thinking about folklore, which really kind of is interesting. It's it kind of explores ways people create communities either by activities they do, food they share, and the stories behind that.
Yeah.
I was wondering if that's something you'd be interested in exploring in future projects about identity and that sort of thing.
No, totally, yeah. I'm open to everything. Yeah, absolutely.
And I will add something that you didn't mention.
Oh, go
but
for it.
that you may not even going to say. We did make initial contact with a faculty member at Mason.
Oh, yeah.
Professor Deb Schutica, who works in Appalachian Studies and Border Studies. And we made initial introductions with Adriana,
Yeah.
but because it was so close to the end of the semester, some of that is still an ongoing conversation.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
I know Professor Schutica also teaches folklore studies, so everything converges.
Yeah, no, everything's connected, totally. What else?
I'm wondering about that international connection you made about your time in London, was it?
Yeah.
So I'm wondering how, I don't have the background that you do, but in terms of understanding some of the themes that you're talking about being Latinx and that being questioned and whatnot, how American that could be, and I'm wondering how you translate that in a global context where, you know, Latinx or Colombiana doesn't really exist in the same way as it does
No,
here,
it
for instance,
doesn't.
in London. Yeah,
It
how would
doesn't
you
at all.
translate this work in that global context?
I mean, I think that's an ongoing thing, honestly, because it's not, because they don't even understand what is like Latinx and what is Latinidad. Like, there's just that much more work to be done. Like when I do talk about the work there, so in London, like that's where I did my master's. So I was having to talk about Claire's Black tons because that was my thesis. And I was having to explain a lot more than I feel like I do in the States, just because like professors had no idea what I was just saying when I'm talking about Latino, Latina, whatever. And Latinx, yeah, that's a more new term in the past 3 years. I did my master's 5 years ago, so it's like that wasn't a word then. But no, I think it's something that I commit to the space that I'm willing, like when I'm doing this work, I'm totally doing this work for education as well. So I'm committing to the space in that like, yeah, like it's a lot of like back and forth for me and emotional labor for me, but I'm willing to do it because it's for like a broader understanding of what like Latinx people are and how we can, and so hopefully we can exist in a more like broader way in these places, yeah, like Europe.
And if I can ask you to elaborate on
Yeah.
something that I saw in the statement downstairs.
Yeah.
So you talk about, and one thing I love about your work is that it can look photojournalistic or anthropological, but
Yeah.
it's not. And like a lot of really rich research projects, it introduces just as many questions as it answers. So even if it seems to answer a question about this is what something looks like, it's bringing up new questions at the same time.
Yeah.
But you mentioned that some of your work actually was used by the medical community to enable understanding.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you want to talk about that, but I thought that was like a really beautiful example of how art can lead to understanding that necessarily can't be done through other kinds of traditional non-visual ways.
No, absolutely. No, I think that's super interesting. Because I don't even call myself really a photojournalist. Like I say, I'm an artist that works in a photojournalistic way. So because of that, I would never think that like Claire's Black would be used in a photojournalistic way because it's very much like personal storytelling and it's very much like, I don't know, there's a lot of like beauty where I feel like photojournalistic is just like more reportage, like hard facts and like, so the fact that like, that happened, that was last year I think, 2018, that I heard from one of the community in Puerto Rico, the people with albinism, and they contacted me and they told me like, oh, this is being used now. Like this was like doctors that like, because I became friends with different nurses and stuff down there too that are working with these people. So one of the nurses contacted me and she was like, Adriana, just like as of today, like they were using it in court for something, like they're using the book Clear as Black. And I was like, what? That's nuts. Like that's like an art book. And like, so it's really cool. No, I mean, it's amazing. It's an honor. And it's something that I would never think of or was trying to do at all. Like that's something that because the community needs it and because no one's documenting these stories and because it's underrepresented what albinism is and how it looks like, they needed it. And since they don't have images of themselves in these ways, like it was something that happened just like naturally. It wasn't anything that I was seeking out. Yeah.
Any other questions for Adriana or about this project? And Anna will be in the gallery for at least the next 10 minutes.
Huh?
We'll be heading down to the gallery.
Oh, yeah,
shortly
yeah, yeah. You can
afterwards,
ask me
so
more
if anyone
questions
has
down there.
questions down there. We have a gallery guide which is available on the website. We also have printed editions, like I said, hot off the presses, so we're still folding some of them, or you can fold your own. This
Yeah,
is an interactive process.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah, everything on this table is for sale. You can buy from me.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
feel free to look at some of the other works from Homey House Press and from Adriana.
Yeah.
We also do have a copy of Clear as Black, the full book, in the gallery downstairs. So if you want to see the entire piece, because we don't have everything up on the walls from it, but we have some selected images
Yeah.
printed in it and downstairs. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. And this is the last of our programming for the summer for Fenwick Gallery. We'll resume regular programming probably late summer, early fall. So keep an eye out for our next exhibition announcements. We do these pretty regularly. Thank you.
Thank you.